Here are the key differences you need to know between Sint Maarten and Saint Martin. Make sure to stick around to the end because the last difference is something you definitely want to know about. Difference number one, on the Dutch side or the south side, Sint Maarten, you're dealing with a typical North American style plug. Either looks like this or has like a third prong for the ground. And voltage is going to be 110 volts. Again, standard to North America. On the French side, the north side, Saint Martin, you're going to have a European style plug that looks like this. You'll also be running at 220 volts instead of 110 volts. This is more common to Europe. As you'll find throughout this video, the French side is much more European in nature. So before going, not only do you need to worry about the adapter type, like the actual outlet type, you also need to pay attention to voltage. Now, many modern devices, even this adapter, for example, has a range of 100 to 240 volts, so it'll work in any voltage range. Make sure to check your adapters, not just the plug type, but also the voltage on them. If they have that range, then you're good. If you don't have that range, then you need to get something bigger and chunkier like this. This is an actual voltage adapter or converter, phrases like that. Just make sure that it deals with bringing up or down the voltage. It'll bring down the voltage from 220 if your device can only handle 110, so you don't burn out your devices. But that's a key difference to be aware of before going to visit the beautiful island of Sint Maarten and Saint Martin. The next difference that you should be aware of, and that many people will probably look up before going on a trip to this island, is currency. The south side, being a Dutch territory, accepts the Netherlands Antillen guilder, but also accepts American. If you're at grocery stores and a lot of other retail locations, you'll actually see both prices listed. But the American dollar is widely accepted. And on that note, credit cards are basically accepted everywhere. American Express was much more limited, so if you are traveling with credit cards, don't just rely on American Express cards. If you are going, you will be bringing some currency. Just bring American currency, that's fine. The north side, you'll see euros are much more common. Prices are in euros, but many places will actually post their conversion rate. Many retailers will give you a 1-to-1 ratio between US dollars and euros. We had no issue with any retailer accepting American. We did have some euros left over from a previous trip to Europe, so we did bring those as an opportunity to get through them, because as Canadians, the US dollar is more useful to us than the euro is, so we will use our euros when we get the opportunity. But you will see, again, that the signage, the prices are often posted in euros on the north side versus in US dollars on the south side. So just something to be aware of. Don't worry about converting to the Netherlands Antillen Gilliard to go on the south side, and don't worry about bringing euros for the north side. Both sides will happily accept American, but just so you know, there is that difference in what you'll generally see posted as the currency. Another potential difference you may be wondering about is roads or driving. Both the north and south side, you drive on the right hand side, which makes sense as the Netherlands and France both drive on the right hand side, so there's no difference that way. Speeds are listed in kilometers per hour on both sides, so that's not a difference. And traveling between the two, no border checkpoints or nothing like that, so from renting a car or anything like that, it's very, very easy to cross over between the two sides. The key difference you will notice is, or at least we found generally the roads to be in a better condition on the north side, on the French side, and traffic was a lot better on the north side. Now, this can likely be chalked up to the fact that Philipsburg, which is on the south side, in Sint Maarten, is the cruise port. So you have a ton of cruise ships, a ton of cruise passengers, and as a result, a lot of the cruise port tourism remains on the Dutch side. Everything's a little closer to them. Some of the most famous beaches are on the south side. So there's a lot of east-west kind of traffic congestion, especially on days where there are a lot of cruise ships. So just to know, traffic's a little heavier, roads are a little more beat up on the south side. Other than that, right-hand side of the road for both countries, kilometers per hour on both countries. No real differences. Renting a car is easy. Like any Caribbean island, or anytime you rent a car, there's a chance you get in an accident or something happens. But other than that, driving's the same on both sides. Nothing to be worried about there. Another key difference that may or may not be surprising to you is language. On the Dutch side, you'll find that basically everyone speaks English. And by everyone, I even mean the technology. You go to use a debit credit card terminal, the language is in English. You look at signs, the language is in English. You'll find that I in the 2 weeks we spent there, I don't think a single person spoke Dutch or I saw a single sign in Dutch. On the French side, on the other hand, most people spoke French. A lot of French tourists, most signs were in French. Again, the debit credit card terminals actually were in French, not in English. So it's definitely, you could definitely get by with English. Many people spoke English, but you'll find that a lot of the signage, a lot of the infrastructure is French, right? That was a key difference. But if you go speaking English, you'll be fine. Just be aware that the south side is much more English, kind of cruise port, touristy kind of in nature, whereas the north side very much is that French culture, and you could tell a lot of people from France were visiting, much less American tourists visiting the north side. This brings me to the final difference between Sint Maarten and Saint Maarten that I'm going to discuss in this video. This is the one you really want to know about, otherwise you're in for a big surprise. Now, this Caribbean island nation has 37 beaches for the 37 square miles. While all 37 beaches are very beautiful, there's a big difference between the north side and the south side, and that is nudity. The north, as I've alluded to many times, is very French, very European in nature. On the south side, none of the beaches permit nudity. On the north side, on the other hand, all of the beaches have the potential to have people walking around topless. There is at least one beach that allows full nudity. It is much more secluded. You're not going to stumble upon this beach by accident, but there is one beach that allows full nudity, and on any of the other French beaches, women are allowed to be topless, so you have to be prepared for that. There are some areas that are more common. The south end of Orient Bay Beach, they used to have a resort there that was a nudist resort, so that area of the beach tends to be much more heavily populated by people going topless. So if you're going with kids or you're sensitive to those things, just be aware that anytime you visit a beach on the French side, there is some potential for nudity, and like I said, you won't stumble upon the full nudity beach, as it is a little more secluded. You can't actually access it by car. You have to take a trail. I will have a subsequent video that talks about the various beaches in Saint Maarten, and I will be discussing that beach as well, but no reason to give you the name now. So just so you know, that can happen on the north side. If you're looking to avoid any nudity whatsoever, stick to the beaches on the south side. Well, those are my top 5 differences between Sint Maarten and Saint Maarten. Both sides of the island are beautiful. My wife and I loved our time there. We absolutely recommend it to everybody. In fact, we'll likely be going back in the near future. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and hit that subscribe button so that you stay up to date on all the new videos that I will be releasing on my channel.